What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got the most violent Wolverine story ever told with part 1 of the Sabertooth War. Now, this story, equipped with a full parental advisory tag on it. That's how brutal this thing is. But this story takes place after X-Force number 50, which hasn't yet been released as of the time of this recording, and before the fall of the House of X and rise of the Powers of X first issues. So previously, Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth, had been a prisoner of Krakoa, thrown into the pit for breaking rule number 1, to kill no humans. But before the fall of X, Sabretooth had escaped and then teamed up with alternate universe versions of himself and managed to steal an Orchid spacecraft. Now Sabertooth has nothing but revenge on his mind, and with this being the birthday of one Wolverine, Sabertooth has a hell of a party planned for him. So if you're ready to see what Sabertooth has planned for these mutants of Krakoa, and what makes this the most violent Wolverine story ever told, not to mention that special birthday present that he has planned for Logan, let's get it. So when the issue kicks off, we're taken to Orchid Station number 5, which is now under the command of Sabretooth. And we see Wolverine in full hunting mode as Wolverine begins to creep up on Sabretooth while he seems to be in the middle of demolishing someone. Then, as we see Wolverine go in for the strike, we see that the person being torn apart is Cyclops. And as Wolverine lunges at Sabretooth, he turns around just in time to catch Wolverine in midair by the throat. Then we see that this isn't Wolverine at all. It's in fact a camouflage version of Sabertooth from Earth 33441, as Victor Creed acknowledges that this camo version is even able to match the scent of Wolverine and probably has his thoughts too. But then he says that this will definitely let him slip past Krakoa's defenses long enough to get them on the island. So then we see the other Sabertooths. There's the Earth 203 version, that's a Cap variant, and the Sentinel of Tyranny. Then there's the Sabertooth of Earth 1912, the Savage Sabertooth. And last but not least, there's the Earth 12 version, aka Pretty Boy, Beauty and the Beast in one package. And guys, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna have to nickname these dudes because I'm not gonna keep saying the Sabertooth of this Earth or that Earth. So for now, they'll be Cap Tooth, Savage Tooth, Pretty Tooth, and Camo Tooth. But we then find out from Cap Tooth that these X-Men are from other dimensions. So that Cyclops we saw getting torn apart wasn't our Earth 616 Cyclops. But then we find out that these guys are ready to see what this Krakoa hype is all about that Victor Creed's been filling them in on. And they're absolutely ready to go and handle some business. So Pretty Tooth yells to Creed that they're ready. But Creed's the leader of this group, and he yells to him that he'll be the one to tell him when he's ready. And then he tells him that he's ready. So then we transition over to the North Pole, and the new base that the mutants have been using since the events of the recent Hellfire Gala, called the Greenhouse. And we see Black Tom Cassidy speaking telepathically with Kid Omega when Tom senses that there's some mutants over on the island of Krakoa, but it isn't safe there, and Stark Sentinels surround that island. So he tells Kid Omega that he's gonna send Logan to take care of it, but Kid Omega offers to take point on it. But Black Tom tells him that although Logan can't show it, he thinks of Kid Omega as one of his cubs, and that he'd skewer Tom if he'd let the kid go alone. But Kid Omega, he wants to prove himself, and he's a bit power cocky, so he convinces Tom to let him go. So now we see the Sabertooth clique in the Orchid shuttle as they're approaching Krakoa, and Cap-Tooth lets them know that he's not picking up any mutant signatures on the island, except for the island itself. And one of these headless drones chimes in that the island is also surrounded. So Camo Tooth suggests that they go in cloaked, and once again Creed tells him that he'll be the one to give the orders. And then he tells him to go in cloaked. This guy. But before they land, they all use some personal cloaking devices so they're not individually detected by any of the Sentinels, and then they land on the island. Now Victor Creed He wasn't around for the whole Fall of X and Hellfire Gala. He had been traveling the multiverse at the time. So as he walks the island, he notices that something serious must have went down there, and the mutants must have fled in a hurry. So now he continues to search the island, and he's starting to feel cheated out of his revenge. But then Sabretooth notices that a powerful mutant is approaching. So they figure if they can't kill all the mutants, they can at least kill one. Then we see Kid Omega approaching, and so do the Sentinels. But Kid Omega is here to rescue whatever mutants are on the island. At least that's what he thinks. So he tries to fight off these Sentinels, but these Sentinels have been leveled up, so he's having a hard time. Then he notices Wolverine on the island, and he immediately assumes that Black Tom Cassidy called him in anyway, even though he asked him not to. So this Wolverine tells the kid to come get him out of here. And as Kid Omega approaches, he realizes at the last minute that that's not Wolverine. But it's too late as Sabretooth catches him, and he puts his claws right through the kid's neck and then beams him back onto the Orchid space station. And if you're a Kid Omega fan, you might want to turn away now as we see the Sabertooth clique just tear it into Kid Omega as the headless drones cheer them on in the background. Yikes. R.I.P. Quentin Quire. So then we transition back to the North Pole, and it's now almost midnight as we see Dakin, or Fang as he's currently going by, and he's standing outside in the snow by a fire with another mutant who I'm not really sure who that is. But then we see a caribou dropped off at the feet of Fang, followed by Wolverine, who snuck up on him saying that he could have killed him before he even knew he was there. So Fang's response to Logan is that we're at the end of the world and nobody knows to look for them there. But Logan tells him never to think that way, and there's a lot of folks depending on Fang to keep them safe. Plus, he simply doesn't want anything to happen to his son, which both surprises and pleases Fang because him and his pops have been through a lot together. And if you don't know, this is Logan's actual biological son from an old relationship in Japan with a woman named Itsu. But then Logan tells him to skin and cut up the caribou for him, and he'll be back to bring it to the mess hall for everybody. Then Fang asks Logan to stick around for a few minutes since it's almost midnight and Logan's birthday. But Logan keeps on moving and he warns him to stay alert. Then we see Logan making his rounds on the base, making sure everything is all clear, as he then begins to think about Sabretooth and all the other things that the mutants have been through recently as he tries to protect what's left. But then he stops to talk with Sage, asking her if she's heard anything back from Kid Omega yet, to which she responds that she hasn't, but it's not uncommon with Quentin because communication isn't one of his strong points. Then Logan asks her how everything is looking around the perimeter of the base, and she basically lets him know that everything is all good. She's got organic sensors out for miles, and nobody's getting close to the greenhouse without Black Tom knowing about it. But Logan tells her that the wind and the snow is only going to get worse out there with a blizzard rolling in as he walks away. But then he continues to think about Sabertooth and his tradition of bringing him pain for his birthday, as we then see the Sabertooth clique and their headless drones who seem to have found that hidden base now. Then we see Creed activating some sort of lantern that I'm thinking that maybe it has the power of Kid Omega in it, but this lantern then fires a pink beam that seems to affect the minds of Black Tom and Sage. But then we move over to Laura Kinney, aka X-23, and Domino, who are both going over some specs on the Stark Sentinels, when Laura, who's a clone from Logan's DNA, so she's more like him than Fang, but she stops and then she tells Logan that she knows he's there, and then he creeps on around the corner. So she asks him, why is he creeping around? And he tells her that he's just doing his rounds. But then he tells her that when he left X-Force, he knows that she probably didn't want the job because of him, but she did it anyway and saved a whole lot of people. So now she's skeptical and she's wondering where all this is coming from. But then he tells her that if something were to happen to him, then she's got to be the one to take his place and do a better job than he did. So she tells him that he's being weird, and then she turns around and grabs a birthday present that she had got for him. But when she turns back around, he's gone again. So then we go back outside, and Fang is finishing up skinning that caribou while he's talking to this other mutant about his relationship with Logan and all the things that they've been through. And that now, two of them, they need each other. But as he's talking with this dude, he notices that the dude's not responding to him. And when he turns to him, we see the claws of Sabertooth ripping through this guy's chest from behind him. And then Sabertooth appears and just rips this guy in half. And now Fang is surrounded by these Sabertooths and drones as we then see Fang and Sabertooth lunge at each other. And an absolutely brutal fight breaks out between them. And then we see Logan, who's done making his rounds, and he's come back for that caribou like he said he would. But as he gets closer, man, y'all, he's absolutely devastated. As he then sees the words "Happy Birthday" spelled out in the snow with the body parts of Fang and the other guy. Jeez. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the issue. Wow. This issue was absolutely brutal. And it was awesome. I can't lie. They were definitely right when they said that this was the most violent Wolverine story ever told. Sheesh. Sabertooth just straight up wrecks in this issue. And I guess since we're into the final chapters of the Krakoan era, the writers are just letting absolute carnage reign. Now, I will say though that I'm not necessarily a fan of when they tell the story out of order like this, since like I said before, this takes place after an X-Force issue that at the time of this recording still is about 2 to 3 issues away. But before the Fall of the House of X event that's already started. But hey, I'm still gonna enjoy it. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments what you thought about this issue. And if you were a fan of the characters that were killed, how does this make you feel? And if you enjoyed the video and this channel, then please help a brother out and drop a like, share, and subscribe to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out.